anyone of her appearance was doing with an Anglo-Saxon name. Well, maybe her folks had been unpronounceable immigrants and changed, yet she had none of the humbleness, the desire to please, which that suggested. "I'm afraid I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you before," he mumbled, glancing at her left hand. Miss Darroway." "No, of course not." She fell silent, watching him, her countenance gone expressionless. He began to fidget. "Stop that," he told himself, sat straight, looked back and waited. She smiled with closed lips. "Very good," she murmured. Crisply, "I saw an item about you in a Chicago paper which interested me, so I came to learn more for myself. You seem to be the victim of circumstances." Lockridge shrugged. "I don't want to give you a sob story," he said, "but yes, that's right. Are you a reporter?" "No, I am only concerned with seeing justice done." "Does that surprise you?" she asked on a sardonic note. He considered. "I reckon so. There are people like Earl Stanley Gardner, but your kind of lady has better ways to spend her time than crusading." She grinned. "True. I need some help myself. Perhaps you are the one who can give it." Lockridge's world was tilting around him. "Can't you hire somebody, ma'am? Miss?" "Some qualities cannot be bought. They must be given, and I have not the means to search deeply." Warmth entered her tone. "Tell me about your situation." "Why, you saw the papers." "In your own words, please." "Well, gosh, there isn't much. I was heading back to my apartment from the library one night a couple of weeks ago. That's in a kind of run-down district. Bunch of teenagers jumped me. I reckon they figured to beat me up for kicks and for what little money I had. I fought back. One of them hit the sidewalk and cracked his head. The rest made off quick. I called the police, and the next thing I knew, I was charged with second-degree murder." "Can you not claim self-defense?" "Sure, I do. It doesn't do me a lot of good. No witnesses. I can't identify any of those punks. The street was dark, and there's been a lot of trouble lately between their sort and the college. I was caught up in one small riot before, when some of the high school crowd tried to bust into a picnic. Now they say this fella and me must have had a grudge fight. Me with combat training picking on a child." Rage welled up in him, tasting of vomit. "Child, hell! He was bigger and hairier than I am, and there were a good dozen of them. But we got an ambitious DA." She studied him. He was reminded of his father, long ago on the farm in Kentucky's hills, watching the ways of a young bull he had acquired. After a pause, she asked, "Are you remorseful?" "No," he said. "That's counting against me, too. I'm no good at acting. Oh, I sure didn't set out to kill anybody. I pulled my punches right along. Pure accident that the punk fell the way he did. I'm sorry it happened, but my conscience feels clear. There I was, minding my own business, and suppose I hadn't known how to handle myself. I'd have ended in the hospital or dead. Everybody would have said, 'How awful, we must build still another youth recreation center.'" Lockridge's shoulders slumped. He crushed out his cigarette and stared at his hands. "I was foolish enough to say that to the press," he continued dully, along with a few other remarks. "They don't seem to like Southerners much around here these days. My lawyer says the local liberals are also making me out a racist. Shucks, I hardly ever saw a colored man where I came from. And you can't get to be an anthropologist and keep superstitions about race. And those hoodlums were white anyhow, but none of that seems to make any difference to people's feelings." His anger turned on himself. "I'm sorry, miss," he said. "I didn't mean to whine." She reached toward him, but checked herself. He looked up and saw that the strange, beautiful face had taken on a pride that came near to arrogance. Yet she spoke low, almost tenderly. "You have a free heart. I was hoping for that." At once, she became all in personal business. "What are your prospects at trial?" "Not so good. The court appointed me a lawyer who says I ought to plead guilty to manslaughter and get off with a lesser sentence. I can't see that. It's not right." "I gather you have no money for a protracted contest." "Huh?" he thought. A woman like her talking like a stage professor? "No," he said. "I've been living on a graduate fellowship. My mother swears she'll mortgage her place to raise a stake, she being widowed and none of my brothers rich. I hate for her to do that. Of course, I'll pay the debt off if I win. But if I don't—" "I think you may," she said. "Am I correct in believing that William Ellsworth in Chicago is one of the nation's best criminal lawyers?" "What? Why, he's hardly ever lost a case, they say." Stupefied, Lockridge gaped. He began to tremble. Storm Darroway stroked her chin.